The devs listened. What an endearing term this came out to be. The term came to life when players started comparing the Wuwa experience with the Genshin experience because the difference between the two was one thing. The devs listened. Wuthering has been riding these waves of positive feedback since its release, and it feels good when your voice is heard. Unlike other gacha games, they are always upfront with you and let you know, hey, we hear your feedback. This really took up when content creator Mr. Poke created this immaculate thumbnail labeled Devs Listened. This eventually spiraled out of control, or more so spiraled into control, because every time Wuwa dropped news, we hear a resounding sound in the back of our heads. The devs listened. This is a stark difference between what people expect from big corporations that run the gacha games, and this has been the cornerstone for the Wuwa experience. With all of that being said, will Wuwa's devs listened carry them to even greater heights? I'm Void Enigma, and I'll be going over just what it means for the dev to listen to feedback for the health of their gacha game. Feedback. This is the only tool that players have to reach the developers of a game and enact a change. The thing is about gaming is, the devs, yeah, they are the gods of their own creation. They can do and create whatever they want, and there is little we players can do to influence the state of what gets released. This can be a major boon or a bane depending on how the devs implement future changes. Now, some devs know what they're doing, and it's in their best interest to ignore some of the feedback and suggestions from players, such as adding jiggle physics to Gion's boobs, or removing cloaks and clothing over every character's ass. But often, this leaves a bad impression, especially when a majority of players are asking for a specific change, but never get it. Feedback is a powerful asset that we as players have because it lets our voices be heard. If they receive a ton of feedback such as, hey, I am sick and tired of having to switch to complete puzzle challenges in game, can you please fix that? Wuthering Waves sees an uptick on this particular feedback, and they implement a change, adding a gadget that lets you actually use a gun at all times, and that leaves the player satisfied. One thing checked off their list. Meanwhile, other games decide that it's in their best interest to keep things the way that they are, as making such changes would cause puzzles to be a little too convenient, and that might destroy the entire foundation of the game. The act of your own feedback being put into the game builds a tremendous amount of trust between the player and the company, while actively seeing your feedback ignored builds a tremendous amount of animosity between the player and the company. Some games prioritize short-term games and bringing in as many new players as possible while neglecting the current audience, while other games, particularly Wuthering Waves, strive to build players who will continue the journey through each update and play the game for as long as possible. And just like Wuthering Waves, I'm also striving to build up this channel, and you can help out by subscribing and liking this video. There is an overarching theme of Wuthering Waves which is endorsed by a famous quote from the CEO of the company, Solon Lee, and it's as followed. I have 3 principles. Love yourself, love your game, love your players. This theme carries out to the game, igniting generosity, and even though money is their driving motivation, they care about the players first and foremost. This is the reason why so many players play this game today. Many others don't really care about this concept, but that's fine and okay. If you run into a Wuwa fan, they will let you know just how much the devs listen. When you hear about a gacha game, your first question should be, what is the monetization like and how generous are the devs? If you hear that Wuwa is giving out free 5 stars, free premium, no bullshit attached, 5 stars, then yeah, you might just pick up this game. They aren't perfect, however, as they do still use many FOMO tactics, and that's just the nature of gacha games. It is hard to deviate from that completely, but they're still within reason, and they're quite generous in every way that they can be. Despite all of this, Wuthering Waves as a whole gets a lot of unwanted hate. I understand why some people bash this game, especially if they cannot play it on their devices, but others hate the game for no particular reason. I've made a ton of videos discussing the differences between Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact, and in all of those videos, I tried to be as unbiased and state only facts. Despite me saying that I'm unbiased, the earlier iterations of these types of videos were with an extreme of exhaustion from Hoyo bullshit, so a few times I can get carried away. However, the fact remains that both Wuthering Waves and Genshin Impact are great games. If you want to play both, you certainly can. Even so, there are many comments on people arguing about how Wuthering Waves sucks or how Genshin sucks, and those opinions are still valid, but sometimes they get blown out of the water. Despite all of this, however, I think it's very important for you to actually look at the competition of your game. This is a way to invigorate new players to try the next game on the market, and if you only hear good things about that next game for months, such as the generosity of the devs listen to the players, engaging gameplay, this might spark up an interest to play that game. This makes other companies be wary of just how the players feel about their game when compared to the new game. This is the reason why the term devs listened is so powerful. The one thing that caused long-term Genshin players to leave and play Wuthering Waves was the fact that the Genshin devs don't listen. By the time they started to implement changes players were asking for, it was far too late because it becomes blatantly obvious that these changes were happening only to appease players because Wuthering Waves hit the market. If you have played a game for such a long time, if you've built a stream of animosity from all of your feedback falling on deaf ears, you will slowly but surely begin to resent the game. Now, when the next big thing enters the market, you are going to jump ship to the new game, and then you'll realize, hey, I have an actual voice here? You're going to actually listen to me? Yeah, I would definitely stay with the company that actually listens to my feedback. Just a few days ago, I asked for feedback. Hey, I think that it's bullshit that when I'm using the echo grinder to turn 5 echoes into a new echo, it's just weird to just keep going back and forth and selecting echoes. You don't save my spot. I just think there needs to be a UI update for this particular part of the game. Please and thank you. Now, suddenly, 1 week later, they announced in the live stream, hey, we heard your feedback and we are adding a way for you to manually select all of the echoes that you wish to trash, and you could trash up to 100 at a time. Yeah, that feels a little too direct, and I can do nothing but be thankful to the fact that I asked for this change and it happened. It's a crazy feeling. Like, imagine your voice being heard in a company and they just immediately implement those changes. It just hits you on a personal note, even though they probably didn't read your feedback specifically, but enough people talked about it so then they definitely added it to their game. On top of that, they say that they are still listening. They will continue to update their game and implement all of the changes that we are asking for. I have absolutely no reason to hate or look down on Wuthering Waves. If they mess up, they fix that mess up immediately. I can't even make a video discussing Wuwa flaws because by the time the script is written, they have already implemented a change in the following update. So to reignite the quote I said during the video, love yourself, love your game, love your player, and remember, the devs listened. Go ahead and like this video if you found it enjoyable, as that's the best way to support this channel. Until next time, Enigma out.